We begin with an in-depth look at a critical issue that in one way or another impacts all of us. There have been so many shootings involving police officers both around the country and right here at home. And if you're like many people, when watching these news reports, you may have wondered, who would want to be a police officer these days? 1036's Dan Jones wondered the same and went looking for the answer.
Going back out north on Maryland, going up Circle, someone from 75th Street, going towards 74 now.
Going towards 74.
Okay. Got him, got him.
In Chicago this past summer, police opened fire at a suspect fleeing in a stolen car. The suspect jumps out of the car and runs. After a short chase, he is shot and killed. He was unarmed.
Your hands behind your back! You shoot at us.
In Milwaukee's Sherman Park neighborhood, violent demonstrations followed the fatal shooting of a suspect who police say was armed while fleeing a traffic stop. The nearly instantaneous media attention given to any police officer-involved shooting, no matter what the circumstances or who might be to blame, and the demonstrations that so often follow, have law enforcement authorities worried that it might discourage talented young men and women from wanting to get into the field. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke is riding high in his role as America's law and order sheriff, so much so that he was invited to speak on opening night of the Republican National Convention.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make something very clear. Blue lives matter in America.
Look, this is a tough profession. Everybody who gets into it knows it. We know what we're up against. We know it could cost us our lives, all right? And we could leave family members behind, colleagues behind. And any time a law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty, a little bit of every cop in America dies along with them. But we do this voluntarily. We think it's worth it, but we have to be sure that it's worth it. And right now, with this anti-cop sentiment sweeping across the United States, cops are starting to wonder. You know, I'm going to leave a wife behind, a husband behind, kids behind, siblings behind, leave my, parents dealing with the loss of a child. Is that really going to be worth it in serving my community? And so it may, I don't know yet, but I'll tell you what we're seeing right now is we're seeing fewer women.
Milwaukee Police Chief Edward Flynn also has a nationally respected reputation, so much so that he was invited to take part in a recent ABC News special with President Obama to talk about the problem of urban crime.
And in order to get neighborhoods and communities to live safely together, we need a credible law enforcement presence. And I feel sadly that in many ways that's being undermined. And it's hurtful that particularly where we need quality recruiting the most, which is in the minority community, the only time all too often these young people hear from their leaders is to vilify and criticize the police. We need the best and brightest of every segment of American society. This is essential work. It is service work. It is overall a social service that's basically filling the gaps for a society that's walked away from its social safety net for the last 35 years. So it's a challenging job. It's an essential job. It's a job that can give a life meaning. But unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've created a toxic environment for the recruiting of police officers, and I do worry about it.
The Milwaukee Police Department runs its own training academy and goes above and beyond the 720 hours of training mandated by the state. In the 6 months that they are here, these recruits will learn everything from constitutional law to how they should conduct a traffic stop.
I'm Officer Goff from the Milwaukee Police Department. The reason I'm stopping you today is because your plates are expired.
There is also firearms training, including how to use deadly force if you have to. Even now, there are dozens of applicants for every single open position. 20-year veteran and former street cop, detective, and homicide unit supervisor, Captain Nicole Davila, now runs this academy.
The day after, the first Monday after the Sherman Park incident, was the day this class started that we have in-house right now. And so I was really concerned that Sunday. I remember I went for a really long run because I did not know what I was going to say to the recruits on their very first day after they watched the civil unrest at Sherman Park. And then I was worried, what if they don't show up? How many recruits are going to show up? And so we got to work and I talked to the staff. We were all very nervous about people not showing up, or people saying, after seeing what happened over the weekend, saying, I can't do this. This is not what I signed up for. But all but one showed up, and that one only didn't show up because he took a different job. So it wasn't because of what happened over the weekend. And I went to address the recruits on the first day, and I said, okay, how many of you had second thoughts about coming to work today, your very first day? And no one raised their hand. I said, okay, how many of your families told you not to show up for today? At least half the class raised their hand.
I want to be a big city cop because I live in the big city, you know, and I also want to show all the youth that I've worked with over the last few years that it isn't necessarily where you come from, you know, on what you can be. You know, it's what you choose to, and you've got to put your best foot forward and become that person. So, I mean, we have a lot of youth that unfortunately don't perceive the cops the way we would like them to be, so I want to change that perception, you know, along with changing the youth's opinion about that. And the only way we can do that is if I become that police officer and work with these kids in the inner city, because the youth are our future here, and we just have got to be on the same page as far as how we're going to help them and how they can help us.
Do you worry about your own personal safety when you watch all these incidents around the country on the news and the media coverage and the demonstrations? Do you and your loved ones and your family worry about what a dangerous field you're getting into?
No, my family knows that I'm getting the proper training that I need to handle the situation what's going on. My family, my wife, my boys, I see them every day, and they love when I come home from the training. They ask me what's going on, and I let them know that I'm getting trained and everything's going great.
The Milwaukee Area Technical College also runs a police recruit academy, as it has for more than 40 years. You need 60 college credits before you are even considered for admission. Many of these recruits will end up in suburban police departments.
So the gun goes right back in the holster while your eyes stay up. The threat's out here in front of you, not down here, because you turn your eyes down here, what's coming? Fist to your face, knife to your face, gun to your face.
One, police don't move. Two, stay back.
Though the most dramatic pictures might be those of the firearms training, the overwhelming emphasis in these programs is on saving lives and protecting communities.
They train people in a number of different things, everything from constitutional law to emergency vehicle operation to defensive arrest tactics to firearms to professional communications, all these different tactics that help somebody end up working in law enforcement and helps them be successful. It's also mandated for anybody who is in a police department to have gone through a recruit academy of some form.
Over the years, the training has changed with the times.
We are expecting them to know more now. You know, we had the basics, we had the defense and arrest tactics, we've had all that, firearm proficiency, all of that remained the same. The unified tactics have remained the same, but we expect them to know more. There's much more cultural competence now. There's much more fair and impartial policing, which is recognizing your bias and policing in a positive manner without giving in to your bias. And recognizing that the citizens have a bias towards us as well. So that way, those things have been incorporated more than they were in the past.
The students in these programs will tell you to a person that they think the positives of the job will far outweigh the negatives.
I always really enjoyed helping people in my community. I did a lot of volunteer work throughout high school and college, and I've always kind of had that service mentality.
Do you feel for yourself that this line of work is a calling?
Yeah, I personally believe so. I've always been attracted to this field. I feel as if, for my personality, I'm always willing to help individuals. I don't mind doing the work at all. I also feel as if it's important for me because as a kid, it would always frustrate me when I saw individuals, breaking the law or doing deviant things and getting away with it. And going straight into high school, I knew that this is exactly what I wanted to do.
Why do you want to get into this line of work?
Well, at this point in my life, I want to take a frontline role in being a member of my community, making my community a better place. So law enforcement is absolutely on the front line, and it's an active role in doing so.
Do you worry about your own personal safety?
Yes, I do. It's something that's always on the back of my mind, but I know that in general the odds are in my favor, and if I'm staying alert and staying focused, I think it'll be a rewarding career down the line and something where I can maintain and have some control over my own personal safety.
It is a line of work that, for many reasons, a dedicated and driven group of young people still wants to get into. It is a line of work that, for so many other reasons, most of us would never even consider.